Well, Corey, the coronavirus is hitting the NBA hard. They announced Wednesday morning a sixth game in the last few days postponed because of teams just not having enough players to go. Boston, in particular, has been really crushed by this. They knew this was coming to some degree, but man, this is just really hitting everybody right now.
The good news is that there's tons of precedent right now. You saw the Premier League. They were able to finish and complete a whole season. College football just did a whole season outside of a bubble. The NFL is looking to complete their season in the next month. So there's plenty of evidence of how to do it the right way and how to deal with postponements and cancellations and all that TV jazz. So I'm not worried about that. And it seems like the confidence in the league office is still at an all-time high, right? Everyone still loves Adam Silver and thinks he's competent. So I'm not worried about it. You have a plan and then you make adjustments in real time. That's kind of how you work in these uncertain situations. So, but it is unfortunate, particularly for teams who are trying to compete for a championship. What do you do, Kurt? When you miss 4 games, 3 games, it's pretty tough.
Yeah, I felt bad for Miami last night. I'm like, oh, cool, Miami, Philadelphia showdown. This is 2 kind of top teams in the East. And yeah, no Butler, no Adebayo, no Goran Dragic. It still went to overtime, but it's just not the same. And you're right. I mean, I think Damian Lillard hit the nail on the head the other day. He goes, man, this isn't fun. Like, I don't get to see my family. I'm not going to movies. I'm not going out to dinner. And then he basically said, I love my paycheck, right? Like, at the end of the day, this is what they're going to have to do to get through the season, and they know it. So they're just going to live with it. And it's going to be inconvenient. And now no visitors in the hotel rooms. They're essentially trying to create a bubble outside the bubble, right? Like, don't go anywhere when you're home. Don't leave your hotel room. And maybe we can get through this in a couple of weeks and get back to lesser restrictions. But at the end of the day, you're right. They're just going to have to fight through this.
Yeah, there's 2 things to look out for. One is mental health. Once again, we saw in the bubble environment, 100 days in a bubble. I mean, that's tough for anybody. But I'm curious to see over the course of 6 months, how do guys deal with limited interactions with their family members or significant others or friends. So that'll be interesting to see. And the other thing is the teams that will win are the ones that are disciplined, that have availability, and that have the presence of their stars. And we saw with Kyrie being out for personal reasons for a few games, for 4 games, and then now with the surfacing of that video, we don't know how long he'll be out because the league might take action and sanction him. So when you have one of your best players missing time because of quarantining or contact tracing, that could put you back a few games. And we're talking about home court advantage and playoff seeding. That could matter down the line. So for these teams moving forward, availability, can your stars play? Can they suit up? That's going to be a huge thing.
Best ability is availability, right? Like you've got to be able to show up. And it is in both conferences. It's going to be tight for seeding. Who gets 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in both conferences is going to be a handful of games. And this absolutely could impact that and then have a real playoff impact because of it.
One team that is way far down the rankings as far as the Western Conference is concerned, I don't know if they're worried about playoffs, but they are worried about their star, right? James Harden, who wants out of Houston. There has been some comments on his, basically he said there is no hope here. He said it's a complicated situation and it's not looking good. John Wall said, look, we can still figure this out. It's only been 9 games. We're not going to jump off the cliff. What do you think about what's happening in Houston?
They got their doors blown off by the Lakers 2 nights in a row, and any fan or 2 games in a row in the set. And look, the Lakers are the best team in the NBA. They're the defending champions. They are the bench. If you're going to win, that's the bar to clear. And they aren't even visiting the bar, right? Like they're nowhere near. They just LeBron's out there clowning them with turnaround threes in the corner.
That was wild.
That was wild. But these look away plays, it's just ridiculous. And that was I think Harden's takeaway from this is like, I still want to be traded. I want to compete for something bigger, and I can't do that right here, right now. And a story had leaked out that maybe the Rockets thought he could live with them for the season. That look, Christian Wood's been playing well, and John Wall's healthy, and maybe, hey, we can bring this thing together. And he sent the message, no, I want to get traded. Make no mistake. And I don't know that it's gotten to send him home caliber yet. Like, I don't know that it's disruptive. But it was pressure to get the deal done. And the problem for them is the fundamentals haven't changed, man. There's no deal to get done right now.
Yeah. The one thing that I find very heartening about the situation in Houston is people are still playing. They're still showing up every night and they're getting better. Christian Wood, his development every night it seems like it is improving. John Wall looks really good despite being off the court for 2 years because of injury. So when I look at that team, they're still competing at a high level. They're still competing. It's not at a high level. They're losing a lot of games, but they're still showing up despite all the James Harden distractions and the fact that they have a new head coach and a new GM. And there's a new system. There's a lot of distractions happening in Houston, but there's still a lot of heart. And for me, that is as a guy who loves to compete and a guy who loves sports, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, wow, that there is hope for that team going forward. That program, there's a lot of heart there.
They absolutely feel like a team that could put this together, right? Like that they could string this together. If suddenly Harden kind of starts fitting in a little better, like you think it could work, maybe not long term, but better than it has. They're better than they've shown so far. So let's talk about over at NBC Sports on Wednesday, the full NBA power rankings came out. Let's talk about our top five, Corey. Let's talk about the top 5 teams in the NBA. And at number 5, everybody's darling, the Phoenix Suns, man. It's just fun to watch them right now.
Yeah, it's fun. We'll see how long we can watch them. I think they have obviously Chris Paul has been very consistent for them, and I love his game. He's getting other people involved. He looks great. Devin Booker is playing at a high level. Sure, I love Michael Bridges as well. He's been really good for them. And then DeAndre Ayton to me is almost like he's almost like a young golden retriever pup, who's had like with a really big paws. And he's kind of figuring out his body. When you watch him play, he's so talented. He's so talented. I watch him play. I'm like, DeAndre Ayton, man, like if I just had your skill set. And you can see these flashes where it comes together for him. And then there are other moments where he just doesn't know how strong he is, doesn't know how talented he is. So I'm excited to see him grow into his body and grow into his game because, man, he's going to age like a fine wine. I'm really, really excited to see him play. But I think at the end of the day, Kurt, this Phoenix Suns team is too inconsistent for me to bet on.
Yeah, and the other problem I've had, look, they got off to the fast start. Their offense is going to be good. Chris Paul's going to distribute the ball. They're going to have balance. Their defense has really started to come back to earth over the last couple of weeks. And as that continues, they're going to start to drop some games. I don't know that they're going to be able to be number 5 in these power rankings forever. But right now they're there. They're winning games. They're finding a way. At number 4, the Los Angeles Clippers, another team that, man, there are days you're like, oh, they are Cy Young Award-winning fastballs out there, man. They are just throwing it. And then the next game, they can't get anybody out, right? Like they're just all over the map. There's not much consistency with them.
Yeah, the Clippers, I think it's the same issue as last year, right? We're trying to figure out, can Kawhi and Paul George take this team to the next level? I think they're getting a lot of help from and consistency from their bench, from their role players and support players. Patrick Beverley and Lou Williams are playing at a super high level right now. Luke Kennard is not delivering as much as I would like him to, particularly coming off of that big contract. So he's got to step up his game. But I just don't. Once again, Kurt, I just wouldn't bet on. Like right now, it's a hard bet for me because they're so talented. But I get confused. I watch Kawhi and Paul George out there, and you're right. Some nights they look dominant. Some nights they don't. And I'm like, you have 2 of the best players in basketball, and you have a good bench. I don't understand what is wrong in LA. What's happening with the Clippers? So, yeah, we'll see, but I don't understand.
Yeah, at an elite level, the bench has actually really been an issue. Last year, I mean, myself and a lot of people picked them to win because we're like, you know what? 3 through 8, they're the best team in the league, right? Like they're just going to be, and that turned out to not be consistent. This year, they're not. Their bench has been a genuine problem. Lou Williams looks a little lost without Montrezl Harrell. Their defense when the bench comes on is terrible. And Ty Lue's got to find a way. They've either got to trade for some depth or make some moves, or they've got to find a way to get better play out of their bigs. Zubac he just looks a little lost coming off the bench trying to play. Every other team kind of goes small. They go bigger off the bench, and it's just not working right now. They've got to find a way to shore up the bench minutes. Or, again, 4 might be too high for them in a few weeks if they don't figure this out. Although, if you've got Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, you still find a way to win some games.
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't bet against Kawhi any day of the week.
No. Number 3, the Boston Celtics, before they just got crushed by COVID, they'd won 6 of 7. They were starting to put it together. And whenever they get back from this, they should have their point guard back. Like this is a team that feels like it's going to start to get rolling and maybe one of the top teams in the East. Unfortunately, we're just not getting to see them for a week or so.
Once again, I've said it before, Kurt, I'll say it again. Boston is quietly building a dynasty. I'm telling you, this young duo, when I think about the top 5 duos in basketball, I mean, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have to be in the top conversation for me. And the best news is they're young. They're so young. They both signed their deals. They both have this little window here where they have 2 to 5 years to figure it out, right? And in my mind, I think that's an incredible opportunity for Boston because they already got to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. It's not like they're like trying to figure it out like the Suns are or trying to, get into this game. They're already there. They're already there. So, and they're both playing at such a high level and they have great bench players, great support role. I mean, look, for me, I love Boston, but it's a really short window and they have to capitalize or else we'll see a similar situation to what we saw in Oklahoma City when they had, 3 MVP players playing together, but they couldn't do anything. Or what we saw even with LA right now. We just talked about the Clippers.
Yep.
They only have 2 years to figure it out, and they weren't able to figure it out last year. And right now it looks like in jeopardy. So for me, Boston, short window, you got to figure it out and capitalize.
Yeah, well, like I said, they get Kemba Walker back, but I think the key for them, right, just more Peyton Pritchard. Let's just roll out of that. That guy is just finding a way to impact games. I don't know how. Suddenly you're like, he's going to be one of those guys where you're like, how did he fall so far in the draft? Like that guy is just finding a way to make plays night after night for them.
And Taco Fall. Don't forget, like I said, we need more Taco. I need more Taco Fall in my life.
Taco Fall rejecting Russell Westbrook was one of my favorite plays of the last week, just shutting him down. Number 2, the Milwaukee Bucks are the Milwaukee Bucks. And I know that everybody's kind of like, well, I don't know that they've taken a step forward. And Giannis, first off, Chris Middleton's been playing fantastic.
Yeah,
they have the best net rating in the league, man. They have played really good basketball quietly again. They don't get really judged till the playoffs, right? That's the ultimate thing with them. We can rank them wherever you want. Their season will be met. We'll decide how good their season was when the playoffs are over.
Yeah, this is one of those scenarios where, obviously you just got to take care of business in the regular season. But my question with Milwaukee is in the playoffs, can they take the game to the next level? And the way to do that, in my mind, is being more multiple and unpredictable on offense. Right now, their offensive set is super predictable, and it's been well written about. Everyone's talked about it. But at the end of the day, even though you have a 2-time MVP, even though you have a transcendent player in Giannis, it hasn't been enough for them. They have to figure out ways to make that offense look different and not so predictable. Because over a 7-game series, teams are going to figure you out. It's just that simple. So one thing that I think they can do is learn from Alabama and Nick Saban how he used Devontae Smith, because Devontae Smith was easily the best player in college football. He was doing things that every player you think, okay, this is a video game stat, right? I remember in high school, guys would just put up 200 yards and 3 touchdowns, and then in college, no one was putting up 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. Like that is a video game. And then you have guys who can do that, which are Devontae Smith, and they win Heismans, right? They're just operating on a different level. You go to the pros, and it's like, once again, Stephon Diggs. How do you have a guy who's just putting up 150 yards a game? Same thing with Giannis. He's doing things that just don't make sense in the NBA. But he hasn't been able to take his team to the next level in the playoffs. So for me, that's going to be Coach Bud's opportunity to say, look, we got to figure out ways to uncover him, great ways to get him to play off the ball, get the ball in Drew Holiday's hands, get Chris Middleton more involved. We got to make this offense more multiple if we want to be deadly in the playoffs.
Yeah, you're spot on. Look, their plan A is brilliant, but when you get to the second round and beyond in the playoffs, teams can shut down your plan A or at least make it very difficult. What's your plan B? What's your plan C? Those teams, the teams that win have good ones of those. We just haven't seen it from the Bucks. We have seen it from the number 1 team on the list, the number 1 team in our power rankings this week, the Los Angeles Lakers. They have looked phenomenal. They are playing the best basketball, but I think in the league, but also I'm not sure we've even seen their best play yet, Corey. Like, I don't know that, they beat you with a good quarter here. They put together a good half. I don't know, they're rolling out Talen Horton-Tucker and he's dropping 17 on the Bulls, but they haven't said, all right, you know what? Let's just play a week of really good basketball and crush people, because I'm not even sure we've seen their best yet.
Even when they have close games and they're not playing well, their B game is better than most teams' A game.
Yeah.
So that is an incredible sign if you're a Los Angeles fan. To me, LA is kind of like Bowser. They're the big bad boss at the end of the video game that everyone knows is waiting for them, right? Yeah. In the castle. You got to go to LA and you got to win it from LeBron and from AD. But the problem is, I think that, Mario wins the game. So Bowser loses. So in my mind, LA has to figure out a way to keep getting better, because they look so good right now. Like you said, they look like a mid-season form, and it's only been 15 games or less, 12 games. So the question for me is, can they continue to improve every week? But right now they're just having fun LeBron, like what he did on that one sequence, turn around, making bets with Dennis Schroeder while shooting a 3-pointer. Like that is a whole other level of the game, and they're having fun. It looks like the Lakers Showtime era. Must have been what it was like watching Magic Johnson. And the funny thing about it, Kurt, is that no one's in the stands. Like there's like no one there to watch him and AD do what they're doing. That's a tragedy to me. It's a tragedy.
It is, but you know what? I think we saw it in the bubble, and we're seeing it now with this team. The Lakers are a mentally tough team behind LeBron. Like they can handle this. They can handle everything you throw at them. And by the way, when you get fans back and put the pressure of the playoffs on them, they'll be able to handle all that too. They'll be just fine. They are the bar to clear. And right now, we just talked about all the teams lower on the power rankings. We've got questions about all of them. We just kind of were like, I don't know about the Clippers. I don't know about the Bucks. Don't have those questions about the Lakers, man.
Absolutely not. And the thing that's crazy to me is the new additions seem like they just were culture fits. They just came right in. Dennis Schroeder is he just seems like he belongs in purple and gold. Montrezl Harrell is coming out huge for them. So like I said, it just doesn't make sense to me. It's like a seamless transition from a championship team back to another championship caliber team. It's so scary. You gotta, if you're a Lakers fan, you must be having so much fun.
Yeah, Schroeder's like having playoff Rondo all year long, right? Like
that's what I'm saying. All year long. Yes, absolutely. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, he's been great. And yeah, the Lakers may be on top of this list for a while when we come back to this, Corey.
Hey, I love it. But once again, who's going to beat Bowser? That's my question. Who's going to beat Bowser?